how are we supposed to communicate? Because the book says we need to replace the control with communication, right?
Yeah.
How is communication different?
Well, I think we let them know that we're not trying to control. So if I have an opinion about their music, it's not that I can't ever share anything. I just let them know. I preface it, hey, you know, it's your decision, it's your music, but doesn't it bother you that they're talking about sexual intimacy? Let's just get it out there. You know, the sex. Does that bother you? You know, because like me, I don't like listening to that. But I mean, I'm not going to tell you that you can't. I don't understand how does that affect you? You know, we can ask questions. If they don't think that we're trying to control them, then they might open up and say, yeah, you know, sometimes I've wondered about that. But, you know, I mean, all my friends listen to it and I don't know, I get kind of a bad feeling. And you can let them sort those things out without you coming in and telling them that it's wrong.
What about younger kids?
What about them?
You have teenagers and you have younger kids.
Well, when it comes to music, I mean, that's one of the boundaries that you need to put that, you know, you have younger siblings. And so if you're going to choose to listen to that person's music, you cannot play it in a speaker in our home. You know, we don't want the younger siblings to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So it can't be played out loud. And if a younger sibling gets a hold of your phone or your playlist and they hear it, you are the one responsible, not them. It's your fault, you know, and there will be consequences.
Something that's interesting here, it talks about lecturing isn't communicating. And it says that teenagers actually want to communicate with you, but they're afraid. They won't engage in discussions with you because, number one, sometimes it's hard for them to put their feelings into words. Remember, they're just maturing still. Their prefrontal cortex is still developing. And also, they're afraid that they're going to just be told that they're wrong. Go ahead, you can say something.
Well, yeah, just sometimes I think that they might, you know, the reason that they're doing the opposite of what we want them to do is just to have the control, just to show us that you can't control me. So a lot of times if you give them that control, they don't have anything to prove. Now they can do the right thing and they know it was their decision. They just don't want to look or feel like they're only doing it because of you. They really are trying to become their own person.
So they're trying to be independent. And sometimes, I mean, we shouldn't ridicule them for doing that. Sometimes they say things that are the dumbest things. but they're trying to feel what it's like to have their own thoughts and their own political ideas.
He talks about let them try on different hats. Political ideas, things that you're like, how can you think that? Like, you grew up in this house, you know, like that's exact opposite of everything we believe. But let them talk about it, you know, let them talk about it while they're in your home, because if you don't give them that time now to sort out those ideas and still be around you and hear what you're thinking too, it's like they're going to go have to sort that out later.
Look at this great example. When your teenager tells you, I just think religion is responsible for most of the wars and hatred in the world. Religious people just go around thinking they're better than everybody because they have God on their side. The wrong response would be, where did you get that? From that left-wing history teacher you keep talking about? Ooh, I've said that before. If it weren't for religion, we wouldn't have this great country. And what's wrong with saying so if you know that God is on your side? Never mind, says the teenager. And you say, why don't you go ask that teacher of yours who he thinks founded this country? Atheists? Leave me alone, says the teenager. A teenager's cognitive ability to comprehend greater implications is still fairly new to them. Although passionate about their own beliefs, they can still feel rather insecure about them. This leaves them feeling defensive and easily shut down. Parents must be gentle in encouraging their teenagers to discuss their own ideas and beliefs, no matter how off base they may sound. For example, a better way of doing it, I just think religion is responsible for most of the wars and hatred in the world. Religious people just go around thinking they're better than everybody else because they have God on their side. Better to say, I've heard other people say that same thing. Sort of like people just use their absolute beliefs about God to justify their own hatred. Yeah, something like that. I just think history is full of people who justify killing and violence because God told them to. You say, well, you're too old for me to just talk you out of that view, especially since a lot of other people agree with you. I just can't say I agree. And he would say, what do you mean? It just opened up for a discussion, right? So it's basically treating them as you would treat another adult, right?
Yeah.
And just as a last point, then, I want to mention about what do you do with leaders in your business that are becoming adults, quote unquote. If you have employees, or if you have in our case, a network marketing business, when you sign somebody up and they're brand new and they're babies, right? You feed in, you got to change their diaper. They want your help and direction. You need to give it to them. But as they get older and some of those people remain in the business and they have shown some leadership, they're becoming teenagers, it's normal for them to want to try their independence from you too. So it's not time to come and impose what your views are. It's not time to try to have them do everything you would do if you were in their situation. It's time to let them spread their wings and try something without you being there. What is that? The illustration for how to give criticism?
Well, we call it the sandwich, where you first of all say something positive and praise them for something. Then you'd give them the criticism, the area that they could improve in, one thing. Give them one thing. And then you finish with the other piece of bread. The other sandwich is the positive thing.
Yeah. And that just leaves it open. And just as the examples that I mentioned earlier, for them to take it or not take it.
Well, and I think it's not taking it personally. It's not like, oh, they don't appreciate all that I've done. They don't respect me. No, it's really, they just they want to know that you respect them. They want to know that you see in them that they can do great things and that they can figure things out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it's happened to me, and we hear it in our business all the time, that I've been saying something to part of my team for years or for a whole year, and they never listened to me, or it's just like they were not really paying attention or think it was that valuable.
Or you were giving good sermons to yourself.
Yeah, maybe I was just preaching to the choir, right? They were not ready to hear it. And instead of taking offense, what you should do is bring other people that say what you would say, and they may listen to them. I've brought somebody, or listened to somebody, some other leader outside of our organization, and my team was like, man, wasn't that amazing? What a revelation. And I think I've been telling you that for a whole year. But it's not for me to get the credit. What I wanted is for them to get that, right? So it's the same thing with teenagers.
Yeah, we want to get our kids around other families, in church, groups of kids that can speak to them and tell them things. We really appreciate the youth pastor at our church because he connects with the kids. Yeah. And I know he's saying a lot of things that we want to say or we think we've said, but they're receiving it from him.
Yeah. Positive peer pressure. Realize that you are not the end of it all. You are just a leader. And a leader is not someone who controls, but someone who influences others, as John Maxwell says. So influence grows as they grow up. The way to grow influence is by improving communication and decreasing control.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty that fear comes in, and we think that we're not going to get the communication if we give up the control. But what we're seeing as we try to implement this is the communication does come back. Their hearts really do open up. They really do care what we think, even though we feel like they've been saying they don't care, but they do care. Mm-hmm. When you can give up the control and just be an influence.
So get a hold of these two books.
It's Feeding the Mouth That Bites You. There's also a podcast by the same name, and Running the Rapids. Kevin Lehman and Kenneth Wilgus.
Good stuff. We're going to talk about it more later, but hope it helps you. Like the video if you liked it. Share it with someone.